I just saw a crazy story I have to talk about. A woman working at Wells Fargo died at her desk, and her body wasn't discovered for 4 days, despite co-workers being in the building as well as 24/7 security. It's not like she went to some condemned building all alone like Squidward when he goes to that void place. Like, she was in an occupied space, working, surrounded by other people, and nobody noticed that she had passed away until her body started to rot and decay and they started to smell it, and then someone became alerted and realized, gee willikers, we have a corpse here. That is baffling to me. Like, this is the perfect illustration for how little these companies care about their workers. Like, they are not your friends. They do not give a fuck about you.
A Tempe Wells Fargo employee died at her desk. And 12 News is now confirming that it may have taken as many as 4 days for anyone in the office to notice.
That's so sad. Now, according to workers, she was in an underpopulated area of the office because a lot of workers for Wells Fargo work remote, but there still were co-workers there as well as 24/7 security, and I imagine there were other higher level like Wells Fargo executives that have to be in the building at least once or twice over the course of 4 days, you would think, to like manage it, and nobody found her. Because I imagine they treat employees just like faceless cogs in the machine and not human beings.
A Wells Fargo employee went to work the morning of Friday, August 16th and never went home. Tempe police tell 12 News 60-year-old Denise Prudhomme scanned into work at 7 o'clock in the morning. 4 days later, police responded to the office building near Washington Street and Priest Drive for reports of a subject down. Prudhomme was declared dead. The Tempe Police Criminal Investigation Bureau is investigating, but do not suspect foul play.
I saw a comment that really put things into an interesting perspective. It said, be 5 minutes late to work, get reprimanded and maybe fired. Die in your cubicle and nobody notices. It's super upsetting. These employees just numbers on a page for executives to try and exploit, figuring out how to get the most juice for the squeeze for as little amount of money as possible to get the most amount of return on it. It's all about profit. And it doesn't matter if an employee dies at their desk, you don't even notice. And the people working around you also won't notice because they're also part of that machine and too wrapped up in their own personal experience with it.
A Wells Fargo employee exclusively spoke with 12 News, but asked not to be recorded or identified out of fear for their job. They say a colleague found Prudhomme dead at her desk in a cubicle while walking around the building on Tuesday, August 20th. Prudhomme's cubicle was reportedly on the 3rd floor and away from the main aisle. This employee says several people had smelled a foul odor, but passed it off as faulty plumbing.
It's so weird to me how if something's off the main aisle, it basically just falls to the fucking back rooms at Wells Fargo, I guess. So if someone's not at like one of the main front and center cubicles, they basically cease to exist, I guess. So for 4 days, people walking down this main aisle never saw her cubicle and noticed the body. It reminds me of in Dexter's Laboratory, the back of the bus where that kid was like a gum monster because he was like, you know, glued down to the seat from chewing gum, and no one goes to the back of the bus. Like, that's kind of what I picture for this Wells Fargo office now. Oh, well, she wasn't in the main aisle, so what were we supposed to do? Go over there and check? We don't do that. We don't go over there. That's a forsaken realm. That's like a fucking different dimension over in that ballpark.
They say while most Wells Fargo employees at this Tempe location work remote, the building has 24/7 security, and someone should have found Prudhomme sooner. The incident left several employees feeling scared and uneasy. This employee wants to see new safety protocols in place, telling me, quote, it's negligence in some part.
So a good chunk of the employees at that Wells Fargo office do work remote, but not all of them. There were other colleagues there, and of course 24/7 security as well as like custodial staff and everything, so it was not like an empty building or anything. I am extremely curious to see what protocol changes Wells Fargo might make here. I'm expecting some like really cringy dogshit solution from some out-of-touch Silicon Valley type that just tries ridiculous garbage. Like they might integrate like a jingle. If you're feeling kind of dizzy, if your stomach's feeling shitty, go somewhere else. If your heart starts to pound and you might fall down, go somewhere else. Die off the premises, please. we're begging you. It's bad for our PR, so just die somewhere else, please, instead of in our cubicles. They're not all of a sudden going to start treating their employees like human beings. That's not going to happen. No shot. These fucking elite level zombies that control all this shit, that's never going to happen. There's a higher likelihood that aliens will come down right now and suck my flaccid cock. But I do think they'll do some kind of like desperate attempt at trying to spin this in a positive way. Like, this was a huge wake-up call for us here. We were all shocked and disgusted by what happened, and we want to make a big change. And that's why we're the first office to require hourly health check-ins, where we send around a healthcare professional to check in on each cubicle to ensure that the employee is still breathing. And they'll just have like some dude walk around to each cubicle going, "Hey, Janet, just making sure, are you still alive? Okay, let me check your pulse real quick." All right, great news. Hey, keep up the good work. You're a valuable team member here. We're a family. Don't forget, we're more than a team, we're a fucking family. Fist bump. All right, I'm gonna go check on the next one.
A different worker also spoke with 12 News anonymously.
It was just uncomfortable.
Again, calling on the company to do more.
Body was there about 4 days before anybody found it, before anybody walked up to her and just to say hi, make sure she's okay. She was just laying on her desk.
Just a really sad thought that this woman died completely alone. No one in the office going to say hi or anything like that. I don't know about, like, back home, you know, if there was anyone there wondering where she was. You know, it'd been 4 days since she returned home and no one, like, called to check in and see what was going on or where she might be. It's just really upsetting.
A Wells Fargo spokesperson previously sent 12 News a statement saying, in part, "We are deeply saddened by the tragic loss of our colleague at our Tempe office," adding counselors through our employee assistance consulting service are available to support employees. An employee tells me their direct management offered those services, addressed the incident, and told workers the building was thoroughly cleaned.
We here at Wells Fargo are deeply saddened by the tragic loss of what's her name. It's shaken us to our very core, and we're looking to do more to ensure this doesn't happen again. In the meantime, though, we'll see you at work tomorrow. And if you drop dead, we probably won't notice, so do your best not to do that. We'd hate to go back to back on this. Anyway, though, yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. It just made me sad. Like, it's just a really awful thing to see, and it serves as a rough reminder that corporations really do not care about you. They are not your friends, they are certainly not your family, and they are absolutely not looking out for your best interests. They barely know you exist. Unless, of course, you're not performing up to the standards that they want you to, then they notice immediately and you will be fucking canned on the spot. But if you actually just die in their office, they have no clue. And that's terrible. It's just bad. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's really about it. So yeah.